What's up? What's up? What's up? It's that time of the show where we kind of give a shout out to our sponsors. The sponsor today is Anchor. Anchor is everything you need to create your own podcast. You can use Anchor to distribute your show. They'll kind of get it out for you. And all you have to do is do it from your cell phone or your microphone, however you want to do it. But if you want to get your voice out there, if you want to talk to the people, there's no better place to do it than Anchor. So download the app Anchor or go to their website, anchor.com. It'll distribute your podcast on all platforms. So again, Anchor. Now, what's up? This is You Can't Play Boxing Podcast coming with another episode. Man, yo, it's funny, man, because I'm going to dive right into it, man. You know, this episode was originally going to be an episode just kind of going over the fact that about the Winky Wright, Jermain Taylor fight. However, man, big news been happening in the boxing world. If you don't know, I'm pretty sure if you're a boxing fan, you do know. Anthony Joshua, man, he lost last night to Andy Ruiz. And to be truthful, you know, when I first started this podcast, it was going to be a podcast really going over major fights, because I didn't want to spend my time and spend you guys' time going over fights I think it's a mismatch. But that fight last night, man, it proved a couple things. Number one, in the heavyweight fight, man, you can never think somebody's an underdog. They're just you dealing with people who weigh 200 plus pounds, not just people, grown men who have trained all their life, who weigh 200 plus pounds, throwing blows. So anytime you got that, man, it's a recipe for anything can happen. So, you know, that fight, I didn't do a preview of it because, to be truthful, I thought Anthony Joshua was going to beat him. I thought it was going to be a walkover. Now, don't get me wrong, I knew that anything could happen in the heavyweight fight, but it's like this. I felt that as long as Anthony Joshua gave 80 to 90% of his ability, Anthony Joshua at that ability would be able to beat 100% of what David Ruiz got. The only problem I said when I was talking about this fight was that if Joshua only gave 50 to 60% of his ability and David Ruiz gave 100% of his ability, Anthony Joshua was going to be in for a rough time. And I think that's what happened. You know, I think Joshua wasn't all the way in it. I think he had a lot of things that he was thrown off. I mean, this was his first time, you know, coming to America fighting. He's used to fighting in the UK. Yo, sorry, back technical difficulties. But like I was saying before, man, you know, this was Joshua's first time coming to America. And I think those few things, as far as coming to America for the first time, him usually fighting in the UK, you know, also Deontay Wilder winning like he did. I mean, winning in the first round. I think all those things really played a factor to kind of throwing Anthony Joshua off. I think he felt that he had to really do things differently, you know? And I don't think he really had to do things differently. I think he he wasn't as focused for this fight as he should have been. And, I think that really played a factor in this fight. And we're going to talk about Wilder, what he did. We talked about him beating Brazil, but we're going to talk about him, his upcoming plans. I think that threw Anthony Joshua off, a lot. As far as Ruiz, man, like I said before, he was locked in. He was locked into the fight. He was doing what he had to do. He had a game plan. He got knocked down in the third round. He came out like a warrior, man. Got up and he stuck with his game plan. He got quick hands. But even still, I think Ruiz at his best and Anthony Joshua at his best, Anthony Joshua was supposed to win that one all the time. 10 out of 10 times, maybe 9 out of 10 times. So, in a second, what I'm going to do is going to kind of go over those fight stats. And, the fight was real even for the most part. I think Joshua landed like 46, 47, punches out of like 200. He had like 25% connect range. Ruiz landed like 56 punches. Fight was pretty even, as far as stat wise. They both was like landing 27% of their punches, 25% of their punches. If you didn't see the fight, third round was the first 2 rounds, Joshua, he kind of kept Ruiz at bay. Ruiz wasn't able to get in. Joshua was pumping the jab. Third round, Joshua caught Ruiz with a shot and knocked him straight in the mouth. Ruiz, he dropped. He got that knockdown, Joshua did. But to his credit, Ruiz got up and within 30 seconds, he had Joshua hurt by throwing. I guess Ruiz was like, hey, if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out swinging. And he went out swinging, just throwing his best shots. Hit Joshua. Joshua hit him on the temple. Joshua wasn't any good anymore. That kind of really fucked up his equilibrium, and his legs was fucked up. His legs, he didn't have steady legs for at least a couple rounds. And some people would say he had steady legs the majority of the fight after that. So, we got a new heavyweight champion. Ruiz got 3 of the belts. He's the first Mexican heavyweight champion in history. So, hats off to him. I will say there is a rematch clause in there. Joshua will have to exercise it. Most people expect him to, but I wouldn't be surprised if he may want to take another fight, because if you look at it from Joshua's standpoint, if he loses to Ruiz, he's really put himself backwards in the heavyweight division, versus if he takes another tune-up fight and come back to Ruiz later on after he gets his legs under him, because mentally I think this may have messed him up. But I think, he could find himself doing something different. So I wouldn't even expect, I wouldn't be surprised if Joshua, took another fight besides Ruiz, but we shall see. Now, by Ruiz winning this fight, he got the Joshua rematch possibly on deck, but also he's managed by Al Heyman. So, we're going to kind of get into some of the other heavyweight champion that Al Heyman manages, which is Deontay Wilder. But if you David Ruiz, man, you slept real good last night. You got a lot of possibilities. You made history. You're probably getting another big payday with Anthony Joshua. But even if you don't fight Joshua, you can fight somebody else as the 3 belt holder and get another big payday making millions of dollars. So life is good in the David Ruiz, household, man. So what we're gonna do in a second, we're gonna take a quick little break, talk about Deontay Wilder. Then we'll also get into the fight rewind, the classic fight rewind of Jermain Taylor versus Winky Wright, the classic fight from Memphis, Tennessee at the FedEx Forum in 2006. So hold on for a second. We'll be back in a moment. We back. You Can't Play Boxing podcast. Thanks for coming, for taking time out for that quick little interlude. So, like I said, we're gonna dive into Deontay Wilder, man. The last podcast we recapped his mega KO of Brazil, where he knocked him out the first round. But since then, he's also been in the news. Tuesday he decided to officially announced that he's going to fight Luis Ortiz again for the rematch. You know what I'm saying? Their first match took place March 2018, a fight where Ruiz had Deontay Wilder hanging on, but Wilder knocked him down 2 times to win the TKO last year. And I think this fight with Ortiz, with Luis Ortiz, I think it's a high risk, low reward fight. Because my point is that, all right, you already beat him. Ortiz hasn't gotten any easier. Not saying Deontay Wilder can't beat him again, but how bad you gonna beat him this time? You know what I mean? What's the upside? You already beat the dude. We know Ortiz is dangerous. We know you're dangerous. We know that you overcame adversity and did it and can beat him. I think with fighting Ortiz again, you're putting yourself in that fire unnecessarily, because it's not like it was like a fight where it was up in the air. You won by TKO, you know what I mean? So, but Deontay, I will say this: he's headstrong, you know what I mean, and he has in his mind that he wants any sort of doubt to be erased. So he'll run it again. So you can't give him nothing but the utmost respect for that, and giving Ortiz another payday. So I respect him for sure for doing it. But from a boxing standpoint and a business standpoint, I don't think fans were clamoring to see him fight Luis Ortiz again. But, he wants to fight him. Then the second piece of news is that Deontay Wilder decided to fight Tyson Fury in a rematch. He announced that fight is going to take place, assuming that he beats Luis Ortiz again, which, it's heavyweight boxing. I don't know. Luis Ortiz he almost knocked Deontay Wilder out last time. It's not impossible for him to do it this time. So, I think that's a dangerous fight. But assuming Deontay Wilder beats Luis Ortiz, he will fight Tyson Fury in the first part of 2020, which I was surprised by that because, Tyson Fury was scheduled to fight Deontay Wilder this year. Then he signed with Top Rank. Top Rank is, of course, ran by Bob Arum. Deontay Wilder is with Al Heyman. And those two usually don't like each other. Bob Arum usually says crazy things about, Al Heyman in the public. But it just shows you that a fight can get done regardless of whatever if you put differences aside. Now, I don't know if it's going to be, I think ESPN is going to be involved with the pay-per-view. I don't know how they're going to be involved, but so it's going to be probably a joint promotion. But I'm glad to see that they got business done and put, things in place to kind of get these fighters in the ring. Because Tyson Fury, assuming he beats Tom Schwartz, which you never know. And, Tyson Fury had his problems before. And I think Tyson Fury, I think he's a boxer, but he's not necessarily, he doesn't have blow-away skills. He has boxing skills, but if somebody pushes Tyson Fury and is really offensive, I think they have an opportunity to beat him, you know? So I don't think it's out the ordinary for Tyson Fury to possibly lose a fight, you know what I mean? So, but Tyson Fury is a good boxer, so we'll see how that goes. So, you know, they'll fight first part 2020. And, you know, I'm looking forward to those fights. Boxing is a lot of business happening in the heavyweight division. There's a lot of things in motion. I do think that one good thing about Anthony Joshua losing is that I think a lot of these heavyweight champions and contenders know, hey, we need to strike while the iron is hot. There's no guarantee that we will keep our undefeated records. There's no guarantee that the public is going to want to see us, because one shot we can get knocked out and it changes everything. So I do think there's going to have a lot of good fights being made in the heavyweight division for the next 2 years, which as boxing fans, I think that's something we can look forward to. So, you know, that's done with the Deontay Wilder talk. The next thing we're going to is going to be that Jermain Taylor, Winky Wright fight, which was, you know, happened in Memphis in June 2006. Man, I watched this fight, man. I forgot how good this fight was. This fight was an awesome fight, man. I watched it and I looked at the stats and stuff, man, and it's still close. I see how this fight was a close fight. You know, I definitely see how this fight was a close fight. So if you guys don't know, they met for the middleweight championship back in June 2006. Winky Wright was coming up from 154. He had already beat what's the dude name who passed away, man, from Atlanta? Vernon Forrest. He already beat Vernon Forrest. Jermain Taylor just came off of beating Bernard Hopkins twice, which were controversial fights too. Some people had Hopkins winning those fights as being close, but Jermain Taylor came off that fight. So this was this was pound for pound, top 10, 15 guys going against each other. And man, they didn't disappoint. So let me just kind of dive into it. You know, I had Jermain Taylor, man, winning the first 2 rounds. He really what would happen in this fight, and this is why I love this fight, because Jermain Taylor at that point, he had that dog, and he had the Arkansas dog in him, man. He would throw them powerful, power punches. And Winky Wright, man, had the defense. He do that shell. He would catch a lot of them fights. He would catch a lot of them punches, but some of those punches kind of got through. But anytime that Jermain Taylor would throw 4, 5 powerful shots, Winky Wright come right back nah, nigga, you ain't finna, you're not gonna get me, and I'm not gonna respond. So Winky Wright would come back and hit him with a couple, two or three. And don't get me wrong, Winky Wright was the better boxer for sure. But Jermain Taylor had that power. He was the bigger fighter. And he had that dog in him. He was undefeated at the time. And the styles of these two just made for a great fight. So Jermain Taylor had him winning the first 2 rounds. That third round, Winky Wright, I think he kind of knew, hey, I didn't, this little dude, he kind of getting off on me. So Winky Wright kind of boxed tremendously in the third round. So I had him win that third round. That fourth round, that was an awesome round. It was very, very close, man. Jermain Taylor, he landed a lot of power shots in the last 30 seconds, and he eked it out after I thought Winky Wright had control of most of the round. But it was a very close round. So I don't, if you gave Winky Wright the fourth round, I can see how, but I gave Jermain Taylor that fourth round. And it's kind of a theme. That round, depending on how you scored it, can alter the fight for sure. So the round 5 was another close round. I gave that one to Winky Wright though. So at the 5 rounds, man, I had it Jermain Taylor 48, Winky Wright 47. In that 6th round, man, Jermain Taylor was delivering bombs. So if you haven't seen this fight, go watch it on YouTube, man. You will not be disappointed. Like, this is a great fight. And some of those bombs Taylor was like delivering. I don't know how Winky Wright was staying up, because he was catching some of those, especially in the 6th round. And most fighters would have dropped, you know what I mean? But Winky Wright, no bullshit, no doubt about it. He has one of the best chins out, you know what I mean? Especially at that era. So, after, the 6th round, I had to fight 58-56, Taylor. Round 7, I gave that round to Winky Wright. They kept going back and forth, like I said, Winky Wright had a chin, man. He boxed beautiful, even when he's taking like hard punches, And in the round 8, Taylor was tired in the first 2 minutes, because they was throwing, like I said before, they wasn't like taking time off. These dudes, like Jermain Taylor, would throw some punches hard. Winky Wright come right back. So either they throwing punches or taking punches, and they not taking time off. So in the 8th round, like the first round that I saw like Jermain Taylor like take off like the first couple minutes or whatever. And but that last minute of the 8th round, Taylor came back with that power. But still, I think Winky Wright took that 8th round. So after 8 rounds, I had to fight even. So this was, like I said, this fight it's not an easy fight to score. And I can see how somebody can have Winky Wright maybe up 1 or 2 rounds, depending on how you scored it. Round 9, Taylor came in with some heavy bombs. Winky Wright kind of withstood that. I don't know how. Again, he has one of the great chins. I've seen some of them like punches he was taking. Yo, he a warrior. And round 10, I think that's the best round of the fight. They was going at it. Like in the middle of that round, they was going at it. Like that's some of the best middleweight boxing that you gonna see. Like, so if you watch that fight, watch round 10. So, after 10 rounds, I had it Taylor up 96, Winky Wright up 94. Round 11, I think Winky Wright definitely outboxed Taylor, and he was tired. He was kind of on his last legs. So going into the 12th round, I got this fight 105, 104. Like Taylor 105, Winky Wright 104. In that last round, this is a controversial round. Some people think that Winky Wright took his foot off the gas. I think he did take his foot off the gas, but Taylor didn't do too much in the 12th round. So I gave that last round to Winky Wright. So I was one of the people that had it as 114, 114. I can see how you can give 1 or 2 rounds to Winky Wright. You may have had it 115, 113 for Winky Wright, maybe 116, 112 for Winky Wright, if you gave him all the close rounds. But it was a great fight. In the aftermath of that fight, they wanted to do a rematch. Winky Wright didn't want to give him a rematch. We never got to see that. And of course, Jermain Taylor, after losing to Arthur Abraham and Carl Froch or whatever, he was never the same. After that, and he kind of in a bad state right now. I've been arrested a few times. But prime Jermain Taylor, man, he was a dog, bro. He was a dog. Like he didn't play around, So going over some of the punch stats, though, just kind of show you why some people probably had Winky Wright winning it. But punch stats, let me say that before I go into punch stats. Punch stats they could be an illusion, because some of these stats can be ran up one round, and then the next round, like for example, Winky Wright could throw 100 punches in round 6 and land 40. And then the next round, he may throw 50 punches and land 5. But then because he ran it up so much in the rounds that he won, it can make the overall punch stats look a certain way, And so, but I will go over the punch stats, because it does, show how some people had Winky Wright winning. Because a lot of times Jermain Taylor was throwing stuff, it was catching Winky Wright like maybe on his gloves, but still he gets effort for throwing. You got to throw them punches and open yourself up. So total punches thrown, in this fight, Jermain Taylor threw 703, which showed he was a little more, and Winky Wright threw 643. So Taylor threw 60 more punches. Taylor landed 163 out of his 703 punches. Winky Wright landed 60 more punches than Taylor. He landed 226 punches. So you see, Wright threw 60 less punches, but landed 60 more punches. And he had a better connect percentage of 35%. Taylor landed 23%. But sometimes, like I said, you get credit for just throwing them punches. So Wright was definitely the better boxer, the more efficient boxer. But when Taylor threw, he threw 395 power punches to Winky Wright 308. So he almost threw like 100 more power punches. And when he was throwing them ferocious. Now, when Winky Wright was throwing it, he was being efficient. Winky Wright is a better boxer for sure. I think it was a fight definitely worthy of running back. I can see why Winky Wright maybe thought he won, but it was not a fight to where you're like, damn, what the fuck the judges were thinking about. Nah, it was a good fight. So that's my recap of, that fight, man. Next week, we're going to kind of go into, we got Triple G fighting Steve Rolls. We're going to recap that fight after it's done. And then we're going to also talk about the De La Hoya versus Felix Trinidad. It's going to be our classic rewind fight of the week. That fight took place, I think, in like 1999. A lot of people think Trinidad won. Some people think De La Hoya won. I'm going to rewind and look at it, rescore it, and kind of tell you my thoughts on it. So until next time, be sure to check us out on Instagram at the letter U, Can't Play Boxing. Tap in with us, like some stuff. And until next time, y'all, peace.